Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel in a way. It's been, a little while since the Olympic break here. The Canadians are back in action here. Unfortunately, they can't come back strong with a win, but they do get a point here in an overtime loss, 4-3 in overtime against the New York Islanders there. So it was a hard-fought game there. I think the Canadians definitely want to have some moments back there that could have helped them win this game here, but unfortunately not the case. We do get a big point. Again, like obviously every time we can get a point, it's definitely big, but I think the message doesn't really change on the other side of this Olympic break here. Every other team in the Atlantic Division, especially the ones near the top, are not losing games anytime soon. So the Canadians, if they want to be in that position to win games here and make a playoff spot, and even more than that, be in a good seeding position into the playoffs here, they need to continue to win games here. Obviously, the Red Wings won today here. The Buffalo Sabres won yesterday, so it's not getting any easier for Canadians here. They're going to fall back to third place there in that Atlantic Division today. So it's definitely tough. Like there's moments there where you definitely want to have a win. We have the lead with like a minute or so to go. We can't really hold on, and then in overtime, a little bit of lapse of judgment there. I think I understand the idea of putting Deneau out there. Obviously, he wins the opening draw at the beginning of overtime, but didn't get any good solid chances in there, and then it doesn't really work out for us. We just didn't really see the guy bleeding into that neutral zone, and then we gave up a breakaway. And Montembeault played, I think, a fantastic game for us today. I think he was definitely, he didn't really miss a beat at all. He looked really solid, made some really solid saves for us, but can't really expect him to make a big save in overtime on a breakaway like that, especially one that's as uncontested as that was. So definitely tough there, but a great game for both teams there. Noah Dobson having a hell of a game, playing the New York Islanders for the first time. Against his former team there. He scores 2 goals, the first 2 goals of the game. His first one, his 11th of the season. Hudson gets the assist, his 49th of the season there. So like it just like gets a nice pass off the rush from Hudson and doesn't make any mistake coming down on the rush and sniping that one home. A nice look there from him. And then later on in that second period, he just kind of gets a pass at the end of that power play there, settles it down and slaps that one home for his 12th of the season. Texier and Newhook, welcome back to the team. Newhook, Texier gets his 12th assist and Newhook his 7th assist of the season there. So Newhook picking up right where he left off as well. Good to see him back in action. I think really earlier than what I thought he would be coming back. I thought maybe it would take until the middle of March or even April for us to see Newhook back in action here. So really good to see him back playing with the team there. And he looked pretty good as well. Obviously a little bit of rust. He had a breakaway opportunity in this game that he couldn't quite capitalize on. But I think generally speaking, it looked like the legs were there. It didn't really seem to be too impaired in that regard there. So definitely good to see that. But Matthew Schaefer does what Matthew Schaefer does, and that kind of took that lead right away from us. 2 goals and essentially a minute apart. Both of them, just look like fantastic plays by Schaefer. He's just using his shot there. The first one, obviously, on a 5-on-3 power play, kind of put ourselves in a hole with that one. That's kind of the beginning of us kind of slipping this one away from us. Unfortunate there. So like it's just, especially as once we take a penalty and then take another one pretty much right away and give them almost 2 full minutes of 5-on-3 play, it's really hard to do that and kill that entire thing off. So Schaefer scores there, and then we can't really stop him on that second one. Maybe you want to have that one back. I'm not going to blame Montembeault for it necessarily, but we're letting Schaefer kind of walk around and do whatever he wants, and he's a good player, but we got to be able to shut him down. So that happens there. So we go into the third period tied 2-2. Cole Caulfield gets himself right back on the goal sheet, scoring his 33rd of the season on the power play. Demidov gets his 35th of the season, assist of the season, and then Slavkovsky his 25th assist of the season there. Kind of a broken play a little bit. Slavkovsky takes a one-timer from Hudson. Goes off of, I think, the stick of Demidov, breaks the stick. Of course, it breaks Demidov's stick, but even so, it goes across the crease, and then Cole Caulfield just taps that one home. It's right in the crease with nobody left to cover it up. So, real easy goal there. That one would hold for a little under 2 minutes left to play, and then Anders Lee takes one right off the chest and goes into the back of the net there. So, unfortunate way to play the end of that one there. It's not much you can do. It goes literally off of his body and in. So it just a kind of a fortunate bounce for the Islanders, unfortunate for the Canadians. And then, as I said earlier, we had some chances in the overtime frame, but unfortunately, J.G. Pajot kind of slips into the neutral zone undetected, gets a breakout pass for a breakaway, and doesn't make any mistake on Montembeault there. So again, we'll take the point where we can get it for sure. We love to get those points wherever we can get them, but it's definitely disappointing to not come away with two when we were in the lead for pretty much that entire game there up until the overtime winner by Pajot. It does drop us into that third in the Atlantic position. Not the worst place to be in, obviously, but we need to continue to do as well as we can to continue winning games here. We're only 1 point behind Detroit here with a game in hand on them. Obviously, Tampa has kind of taken a pretty substantial lead on the Atlantic Division by playing pretty much lights out over the last month or so, or even into most of January there. But Buffalo's not slowing down at all. Boston's not too far behind either. So it is absolutely imperative the Canadians find ways to win games whenever possible here, because again, all of the other teams in the Atlantic Division are not slowing down at all. We need to continue to find ways to keep those guys at bay, because we want to have a playoff spot for sure, but also it'd be nice to be in that top three at the end of the day, as opposed to fighting it out in the wild card position like we were last year. So yeah, pretty much all I have for this one. I mean, it's a tough win, but I mean, a tough game. Would have liked to have gotten the win there, but unfortunately could not pull it off at the end of the day. But a point is a point. We continue. I think this is our 6th game in a row that the Canadians have managed to get a point in. So we will definitely take that wherever we can get it. We got another great matchup coming up on Saturday. We're playing the Washington Capitals, a team knocking on the door of the playoffs right now. They were really good last year, but not so much this year. They're sitting with 67 points. They're the first team out in the Eastern Conference. So a good opportunity to A, get some points, and then B, keep teams that are outside of the playoff positions outside of the playoffs. It'd be nice, worst case scenario, we start losing all of our games. It'd be nice to lock in at least a wild card position. I think that's a little bit pessimistic thinking, obviously, but it's a good opportunity nonetheless to take it to a team that's taken it to us for sure earlier this year, and secure those 2 points. Obviously, that's the biggest thing that matters right now, is getting points on the standings, continuing to fight against Detroit and Buffalo and Boston and even Tampa, if we can string some more wins together and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, generally speaking, I feel like this game was a little bit of a opportunity to shake some rust off. I think definitely in the first period as well, like the Canadians looked a little bit rusty, looked a little bit like they needed to get back into the swing of things a little bit. So I think this was probably helpful for them in that regard, to just kind of get their legs back under them a little bit, play some competitive games instead of just being at the rink practicing. Obviously, some of our guys were at the Olympics fighting it out for their countries, and obviously congratulations to Suzuki and Kapanen for getting medals there. It's very cool to see that. But yeah, as far as the Canadians go, I think a little bit of rust needed to be shaken off a little bit. So hopefully coming into Saturday's game, we can, another game at home as well, we can kind of, get back into the swing of things, get at least another point, hopefully 2, and, see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you after, hopefully, as I said before, another 2 points, big 2 points here against the Washington Capitals on Saturday.